Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Hey guys, I'm back and it is Wednesday, July 15th, and it is 9:40 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, hopefully, I'm going to have two videos for this evening. So we're going to get started. Both of them are news videos, and we are going to get started right away because I've got a lot to cover. All right. First, I want to thank a few people because I end up leaving it till the end, and then sometimes I forget it, and I don't want to do that. So the following donated via coffee: Carrie, Mandy Otley from the UK, and Anon. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it, especially during this time. And, you know, you guys that sent me snail mail cheered me up so much today because today was just a bad day all way round. And so I got these three letters, and they really did a lot to lift my spirits. So thank you guys. Kim B from Weymouth, Massachusetts, and she sent me a Trump 2020 mask, which I'm a little afraid to wear here, but I think I might anyway. And she sent me some pictures of her at a Trump rally and a letter, very nice letter, and a donation. And thank you very, very much. You lifted my spirits. And Diane N. from Hawaii, she sent the sweetest note in a card and a donation. And thank you very, very much. And Wendy A. from Australia, she sent a card with a wonderful note and a book, and the book is on Australian slang, and I meant to bring it over and show you a few things, but maybe I'll do that another night when I don't have quite as much stuff to go over. But thank you, Wendy A. You did lift my spirits, and I appreciate that so much. Okay, well, let's go ahead with the news here, and I am going to touch on, because few people have been asking me, and I thought it was just kind of a done deal that everyone knew that I had written a book. It's called The View Beneath. It's one woman's deliverance from the Luciferian gospel. So I know what I'm talking about when I talk about Luciferianism, and it's got really good reviews on Amazon. So I'm going to leave a link to that, along with a link to the Teespring store that has some t-shirts, patriotic t-shirts and whatnot. And so I'll leave that link pinned to the first comment, because a couple people have been asking me about the book, and I have it in the description. It's always there in the description of the videos, but I think, you know, not a lot of people read that. So anyway, okay, well, now we are proceeding with the news. So I hope everybody is doing well. I missed last night posting. I had to take my mother to an appointment, and I wrenched my back getting her walker out of the back seat of my car. And I was in so much pain last night. I was out of my head with pain. And today has not been much better, but I am going to buck up and do my show tonight because I don't want to miss two nights. There's so much going on that I just don't want to do that. So let's go forward here. Okay, now some of this news, like I've just been collecting it, and it's not in any order, and some of it is not very pleasant news, like this one. All right, I shouldn't have started with an unpleasant one, but all right, and this is from the New York Post. Decapitated, dismembered body of tech CEO found in New York City apartment, sources say. Now, this is from yesterday, and the thing is, normally I don't put too much stock in the New York Post, but in terms of things like that, now I don't trust them anything political, but in terms of just reporting something like this that happened, I think that they're okay. The body of a decapitated, dismembered tech CEO was found inside a Lower East Side apartment on Tuesday afternoon, sorted in plastic bags right next to a power saw, sources told the Post. So whoever wanted this person dead wanted them really dead. You know, I mean, not too many people go to the trouble of, you know, using a power saw. Police came up upon the grisly scene Shortly after 3:30 p.m., after a cousin of the dead man requested a welfare check at the man's East Houston Street building and called police, the sources said. An electric saw was found near the body, which was described as that of a 33-year-old man. The victim's arms and legs below the knee were removed, and body parts were found in plastic bags found in the apartment, the sources said. Police sources believe the victim was Fahim Saleh, a venture capitalist and CEO of the Nigeria-based motorbike startup Gokada. I think that's how you pronounce that. Saleh is listed as the owner of the apartment, which he purchased last year for $2.25 million, records show. This is ugly, one cop at the scene said. Well, I would imagine so. Even hardened police officers come upon a scene like that, and that is just something that you never, ever, ever forget. The sources describe the killing as an apparent targeted murder. Well, I would think so. People that just break into murder or to steal things in your apartment or whatever don't generally, cut you into pieces. The victim was, really, from what I've heard, it's not easy to do that. I mean, I guess a power saw would make it much easier, but gosh, I don't know anybody that would. That's disgusting. The victim was last seen on surveillance footage around 1:40 p.m. Monday when he entered his building elevator, which opens right out to his 7th floor apartment, sources said. That would be kind of neat, wouldn't it? But I'd always be afraid that somebody could, I know you have a key and everything, but I would be nervous in a building like that where the apartment the elevator just opens up into your apartment, because I'd always be wondering, what if? The footage from the apartment building appears to show the suspected killer carrying a bag waiting to enter the elevator with the victim, sources said. So he had a bag. Both he and the victim were alive at that point, and he was carrying a bag, probably had the power saw in it. So he was waiting to enter the elevator with the victim, sources said. The victim gave the suspect a puzzled look during an exchange as they ride up together. So obviously he didn't know this guy, because he kind of gave him a puzzled look. He was probably thinking, look, I haven't seen you in this building before. And the victim gave the suspect a puzzled look during an exchange as they ride up together. As soon as the victim steps out into his apartment, the suspect can be seen attacking him, according to his sources. One law enforcement source said the crime scene looked like a professional killing because almost no blood was left behind and the apartment was not looted, which is a big clue right there. Another source added, it appeared that the killer had been interrupted, which is probably why the bags with his remains were still in the apartment. It didn't look like the perp was done, the source said. Investigators believe the victim to be Saleh, but they're waiting for the medical examiner to confirm his identity. I believe that has been confirmed now, if I'm not mistaken. I think I read that somewhere today. Investigators believe the victim, police were later seen questioning a sobbing woman whose sources identified as the victim's cousin in the lobby of the building. The victim's cousin found his torso exposed in the living room alongside the construction bags and the saw when she went to check on him Tuesday after not hearing from him, according to sources. So, yeah, this is very, very odd, and I'm really not sure too much about this person other than he's owned a startup tech company, but he must have been doing pretty well to have purchased an apartment for $2.5 million. Not everybody can do that. She was screaming when she first came down, said Foss 40. He said he went over to the building after seeing police converge on the scene. Dead body? Okay, he said. But when you hear chopped up and dismembered, that's it. That's a sick type of mind for somebody to do that. Yeah. Saleh was Bangladeshi American who founded and invested in several transportation-related startups, according to his LinkedIn page. In 2015, he co-founded I'm not sure how to pronounce that, a ride-hailing company in his parents' home country of Bangladesh. Roughly 2 years later, in December 2017, he co-founded Gokada, an on-demand motorbike hailing company in Lagos, Nigeria, and took over as its CEO in April last year. He most recently oversaw the company's transition to delivery service during the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the only reason, well, first of all, this is a very heinous crime, and you just don't hear about that sort of thing happening every day. But second of all, I'm just wondering what this ties into, because I'm betting it ties into something somewhere, because generally people don't murder other people that way. And this was obviously a professional and didn't steal anything from the apartment. So, and obviously didn't know the suspect because they got into the elevator together and they didn't talk. I mean, he just kind of gave him a puzzled look, probably because he didn't recognize him as being from that building. And people are very, I know where I live, I know everybody here. It's a small building. It's very, very well vetted, the people that are in here. And I know everybody here. And when somebody is in here that doesn't belong, I know. So, yeah. Roughly 2 years later. Okay, so we read that. But yeah, it's just very odd. Like, why would somebody want to do that to him? And it's a little odd. Now, I don't know, any of you guys that are in New York, if you've heard anything more concerning this or what it might be connected to. I want to do a little bit more investigating with that and see if I can come up with anything. Says, we used to call him the Elon Musk of the developing world. He was like the Energizer Buddy, a longtime friend told the Post. His best friend in Dubai called me just sobbing on the phone. They took my boy. They took my boy. He played ukulele. He was so full of ideas, his friend added. Residents said the crime was particularly unsettling because it took place in what is typically a quiet neighborhood. It's shocking. It's gruesome, resident Jason Rivera, 45, told the Post. What could possibly be going through someone's mind to decapitate him? Pure evilness. No further details were immediately available. Now, if this was a simple hit, I would think that they would shoot him or just something of that nature. But to actually go to that length, it sounds personal. Now, is this a disgruntled employee? Is it a disgruntled business partner? Who knows? But it's very unsettling, very unsettling. So I don't know. It's a story that I would like to continue to watch because it's just so strange, very strange. But let's move on from there and let's go to the next item. And this is sad. Now, I'm not Catholic, but when they start with attacking churches, that never ends well, and they set the Virgin Mary on fire. The Boston Police and Fire Department are investigating an arson at a Boston church after a Virgin Mary statue was set on fire Saturday night. Police responded at about 10 p.m. to a report of a fire near St. Peter Parish in the city's Dorchester neighborhood. Upon arrival, officers saw that a statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary had been set on fire. Police spoke with Boston firefighters who said that an unknown suspect had set fire to plastic flowers, which were in the hand of the statue, causing the face and upper body of the statue to be burned. I was shocked. There's disappointment, sadness, said Dr. John Curry, the pastor of St. Peter Parish. The image of Our Lady is so important for us and our faith. It is such a contradiction to her love. Mary would never desecrate anyone, never hurt anyone, only offer them peace and love of Jesus. I think that's where it really hit us in our hearts. A Boston firefighter who said he was among those who responded to the fire shared a photo of the burned statue. And that's really sad, and I do believe, I honestly believe that attacks on churches will increase because there is a hatred for all things Christian right now in America. Not with everyone, but primarily those leaning to the far left have a hatred for Christianity. So I do expect that to increase in the coming months. I think that unrest as a general rule, will probably increase the closer that we get to the election. That's what I'm expecting, because they're going to pull out all stops. They do not want Trump in for another 4 years. And I think that they're willing to do just about anything, because they've demonstrated that they're willing to do just about anything. So, and actually, I don't even think that there's any trepidation with them. I don't think that there's any hesitancy, like, oh, we can't do that. People might die. No, they don't care. They don't care. Because it means that a lot of them, there's a good many of them that are going to go to prison, and they're fighting for their lives, and possibly for their very lives, because some of them are guilty of treason. And I think we know who those people are. Okay, I'm going to move on from there, but I just wanted to show you that because anytime there's an attack on a church, that is an especially heinous crime, because, you know, just because of what it represents, and it's there for people to worship and express their faith to God, and I think it's awful, but not surprising. Okay, let's look at this. This is another strange one. Man's corpse found wrapped in plastic bag on roof of New York City McDonald's. Now, how strange is that? That's from today. So yesterday we had the person that was cut up with a saw, power saw, and today we have a dismembered man on the roof of a McDonald's. Police investigate the scene where a body was found in a plastic bag on the roof of McDonald's. A dead man, or part of one, wrapped in a plastic bag was discovered early Wednesday on the roof of a Bronx McDonald's, cops and sources told the Post. The body of the man, who has not yet been identified, was found on top of the restaurant on East 149th Street near the Grand Concourse just before 6 a.m., police said. A 911 caller told police that only half a body was on the roof, according to police sources, though authorities could not immediately confirm that gruesome detail. The circumstances of the discovery were not immediately clear. Cops were looking for surveillance footage nearby to determine whether the body was placed there or somehow fell onto the roof from another location. Well, that should be pretty easy to determine. I mean, if there's buildings nearby, you could check. But anyway, McDonald's employees would not speak to the Post Wednesday afternoon. A woman named Nathalia, a Manhattan resident who works in the pharmacy next door to the McDonald's, said a worker at the fast food joint told her about the body. There was a cleaner doing regular checkup when he found the body on the roof, she said. I heard it was thrown from another window onto the roof. That would make sense. That would make more sense than somebody placing it there, actually. A local resident named Marcia said her friend lives in a building one window up from the McDonald's roof and saw the body, which was surrounded by flies. Well, I bet it was in this heat. The smell was pouring in through the window and the feet were poking out. Marcia said he looked like he had been there a few days because he was lying all wet in the water from the rain. Well, I don't know. If he had been there a few days, don't you think you would have, people in nearby buildings that were higher than that would have noticed? And I think they would have noticed the smell. Because apparently a deceased person has a very distinct odor, and it is most unpleasant. So the city medical examiners will determine the man's cause of death. Yeah, when there's only half a man, it's kind of a done deal, you know. Anyway, a man named Alex, 30, who works at the nail salon next door, said there's rarely a problem in the area aside from occasional squatters. The police the police come every once in a while to check up on the building and the McDonald's, but nothing like this has ever happened before, he said. I don't know, things like this happened. I didn't know things like this happened for real. Well, they do, unfortunately, but that's another story that we'll want to keep up with, because what the heck? Now, it could have, I don't know how tall the buildings are in that location. I should have looked it up on Google Earth. Excuse me. But it could have been a suicide. Well, I guess if there's only half a body there, I don't know. I was thinking somebody might have jumped, but that wouldn't make sense, would it? Okay, so let's move on from that gruesome story and get to another one here. And let's come down. Now, this I found funny because I don't know if you've heard about the Twitter problem, and we're going to get into it a little bit later in the show, but I laughed when I saw this. It says Twitter security, and it has a deadbolt lock with a cheesy, you know. That's going to keep out, let me see, like no one. But it's a very good analogy of the security at Twitter. Absolutely. All right, let's continue on. Now, this is from Zero Hedge. People are going to be shocked, Bannon claims Wuhan lab employees have defected and are working with the FBI. Well, that would be, excuse me, I have a little itch here. That would be most interesting, wouldn't it? This is from the 13th, so it's a couple days old, but still very, very pertinent. One day after a report that a respected Chinese virologist fled Hong Kong to accuse Beijing of COVID cover-up, former Trump strategist Steve Bannon told the Daily Mail that scientists from the Wuhan Institute of Virology and other labs have defected to the West and are turning over evidence against the Chinese Communist Party for their role in the COVID-19 pandemic, which has claimed over 560,000 lives worldwide since last December. People are going to be shocked, Bannon told the Mail from a yacht off the east coast of America. The Mail would like us to know. The 66-year-old said that the defectors are cooperating with intelligence agencies in America, Europe, and the UK, which have been assembling evidence to challenge the CCP claim that the pandemic originated in a wet market, not in a lab home to scientists who have come under fire for manipulating bat coronavirus to be more transmissible to humans. Yeah, and we know it didn't originate in the wet market. I think spy agencies have electronic intelligence, and they have done a full inventory of who has provided access to that lab. I think they have very compelling evidence, and they have also been defectors, he said. People around these labs have been leaving China and Hong Kong since mid-February, according to U.S. intelligence, along with MI5, MI6, are trying to build a very thorough legal case, which may take a long time. It's not like James Bond. Mr. Bannon even suggested that the French government, which helped to build the institute, had left behind monitoring systems after Beijing shut them out of the project before it opened in 2017. So I think that's very interesting because I do think that they will get to the bottom of it, but unfortunately, I happen to believe, and don't shoot the messenger. And of course, I have no solid proof, except that Bill and Melinda Gates were smiling, saying the next one, people ignored this one. Well, they won't with the next one, and they smile. Yeah. So I think that there's something worse coming. I really do. The thing was built with French help, so don't think that there aren't some monitoring devices in there. I think what you're going to find out is these guys were doing experiments with which they weren't fully authorized for or knew what they were doing, and that somehow, either through an inadvertent mistake or a lab technician, one of these things got out, Bannon continued. It's not that hard for these viruses to get out. That is why these labs are so dangerous. Well, I actually don't think it was an accident. I really don't, because there's too much that before this even happened, there was a lot of stuff that pointed to this happening. So I just don't think it was an accident. I would like to believe it was, but logistically, I don't think so. Okay. You essentially had a biological Chernobyl in Wuhan, but the center of gravity, the ground zero, was around the Wuhan lab in terms of the casualty rates. And like Chernobyl, you also had the cover-up. The state apparatus reports to itself and just protects itself. Mr. Bannon, who has close links to Guo Wengguo, I cannot even come close to pronouncing this name, an exiled Chinese billionaire told the newspaper, regardless of whether it came out of the market or the Wuhan lab, the Chinese Communist Party's subsequent decisions hold them guilty of premeditated, not medicated, medicated murder. I don't know what that would be. Premeditated murder. We know this because Taiwan formally informed the WHO on December 31st that there was some sort of epidemic coming out of Hubei province, where Wuhan is. The CDC in Beijing was informed on January 2nd or 3rd, and they decided to withhold that information and then sign a trade deal with the US on January 15th. If they had been straightforward and truthful in the last week of December, 95% of the lives lost and the economic carnage would have been contained. And I do believe that. So, might as well finish it now. Bannon continues, this is a tragedy here. They used the time to scoop up all the world's personal protective equipment. This is a murderous dictatorship. The blood is also on the hands of the world's corporations, the investment banks, the hedge funds, and the pension funds, and it's time to start calling it out before it leads to the destruction of the West. Bannon elaborated, we are in the most extraordinary crisis in modern American history, more than Vietnam, the Cold War, even the Second World War, a global pandemic, and an economic inferno. I have no faith in the WHO. The leadership should face criminal charges and be shut down. Oh, I totally agree with that. One has to wonder if China will respond with whistleblowers from Fort Detrick to support their narrative, because their narrative is that it came from the US. All right. Well, I think that's good that they're trying to get to the bottom of it, and I really hope that they do with the aid of these defectors. I'm hoping that they do get some answers and hold China accountable. All right. Now, this is an interesting bit of news. It's old, but I haven't seen it before, and I don't know if you have or not, but I wanted to bring it up in case you hadn't. It's from June 11th, 2020, so it's a month old. If liberals want to ban the Confederate flag due to its historical link to slavery, then why did they elect Barack Hussein Obama? After all, it's a fact that Obama's family were in fact slave owners. Now, I'd heard that before, but I'd never seen it in print. In 2007, a genealogical researcher determined that ancestors on Obama's mother's side were slave owners, and based on recent news, you simply can't have that kind of history if you're going to have a statue of Obama in this day and age. And this is via The Guardian. As the son of a black Kenyan father and a white Kansan mother, Obama has seemed to embody a harmonious vision of America's multiracial society. However, recent revelations have thrown up an unexpected twist in the tale. Obama's ancestors on his white mother's side appear to have been slave owners. William Reitweisner, an amateur genealogical researcher, has published a history of Obama's mother's family and discovered that her ancestors have a distinctly shadowy past. Reitweisner traced Obama's great-great-great-great-grandfather, George Washington Overall, and found that he owned two slaves in Kentucky, a 15-year-old girl and a 25-year-old man. He also found out that Obama's great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, Mary Duval, also owned a pair of slaves listed in an 1850 census record. They were a 60-year-old man and a 58-year-old woman. In fact, the Duvals were a wealthy family whose members were descended from a major landowner, Maureen Duval, whose estate owned at least 18 slaves in the 17th century. Wow, that's a lot of slaves. Following the logical progression of the liberal anti-history brigade, anything and everything featuring Obama's name must be removed and scrubbed from our minds, books, and records. The lid at Education News reports, and of course that's tongue-in-cheek, but, well, isn't that what they want? Anybody that's owned slaves or whatever are being dragged through the mud, like anybody's families, however long before in the past. And none of us really know if our ancestors, I'm pretty sure mine didn't, because they're, on my father's side, they're native. And my mother's family has been in Canada since the 17th, or no, maybe it was the early 18th. Anyway, nobody in Canada had slaves that I'm aware of anyway, because our history is fairly new, really. At the very least, there ought to be a movement to stop the Rapid City and other planned statues of Barack Obama. Think about how it will confuse the liberals who are trying to erase our history, those snowflakes who grew up receiving participation trophies because the purpose of sports was to feel good about oneself instead of kicking the butt of the other team, the safe space occupants who demand leaders who believe it really possible to negotiate with terrorists or lead from behind, the statue-bashing millennials who create safe spaces when they can escape trigger words and differing opinions and bask in the warmth of groupthink. Their heads might explode. I'd like to see that. I mean, not literally. Obama's campaign team back in 2008 did not dispute the information. While a relative owned slaves, another fought for the Union in the Civil War, Obama's campaign spokesman, Bill Burton, said, and it is true measure of progress that the descendant of a slave owner would come to marry a student from Kenya and produce a son who would grow up to be a candidate for president of the United States. Yeah, well, he didn't just end up there, it was planned. Leftists are currently purging the Confederate flag, tearing down Confederate statues, monuments, and plaques because of their association with slavery. But given that logic, shouldn't they have called for Obama's resignation since he too has a historical link to slavery? Well, as you know, the liberals consider Obama their messiah. Yeah, and this is apparently a song about Hussein, which I don't want to hear. And I bet you don't either. All right, let's move on. Okay, let's look at this one. Mad Maxine. She's something else. All right, there she is. Her whole face is her mouth. Insane Maxine Waters loses it, says Trump and his supporters don't want blacks to have power. Okay. Representative Maxine Waters, arguably one of President Donald Trump's most vocal and prominent haters, suffered another total collapse on national television during an interview Sunday on MSNBC's AM Joy. The California Democrat said Trump and his supporters believe they have a right to ensure that blacks and people of color and others do not rise to any level of influence and power. And she bases that on what? Roger Stone, found guilty by a jury on 7 federal criminal counts, no jail time. Caliph Browder, accused of stealing a backpack, couldn't post bail, spent 3 years at Rikers Island awaiting trial, ultimately committed suicide after release. We have 2 justice systems in our country. This is the reason that the Black Lives Matter movement has taken hold, and there are 2 systems of justice for the rich, the poor, the white, the black. What do you make of those who are still to this day criticizing Black Lives Matter, such as Senator Kelly Loeffler? What do you make of that? That they are still doing that? Host Joy Reid asked Waters. Well, there you go, Joy Reid. Waters then snapped, suffered a meltdown, and then pushed a slew of unfounded and gross conspiracies. I think you said it earlier today when you talked about this need for Trump and those who support him to want to, have absolute power and to believe that it is their right and their responsibility to ensure that blacks and people of color and others do not rise to any level of influence and power significant that would cause them to not be in total charge of the country, Waters began. So that young man is typical of so many young black men and women who have been sent to jail, who have been convicted, who have served long sentences. This justice system is broken. It has never really been in our favor, and it has basically been responsible for ensuring that we could never get beyond this suppression and this oppression that has been forced upon us for so many years. How many millions of dollars does her mansion cost? And she thinks she's oppressed? Really? She continued, so those who criticize Black Lives Matter, they can continue to do that. But I want to tell you the time has come now that we are joined by so many others who really were not there for us in the past. You saw it. in all the protests where you had whites and blacks and Asians and old and young all saying something is wrong with this country, something is wrong with our criminal justice system, something is wrong with our policing. It is racism. Okay, Maxine. Well, then how did she get in power? That doesn't make sense, does it? How'd she get in power then? Waters made similar comments recently when she accused the president of having no respect for people of color. The president defined himself a long time ago. I'm not surprised at anything that he would do. He has no respect for his colleagues, no respect for the Constitution, no respect for people of color, and so the firing is typical of what this president is all about, Waters shouted, according to Breitbart. He basically told us what he's capable of, and this is not the end of it. Do you think this is something? Watch what he's going to continue to do. We have a dishonorable president not capable of being the president of the United States, representing and caring for all people and the security of this country. And so we're in for it. We're in for this president and actions such as this and more that's going on. And his campaign is going to help pay for him being even more ridiculous. So again, I'm not surprised. It's almost as if I want to say, I told you so, she added. You know, this woman argues like a 4-year-old child. Really, that's about the level she's at. Like it absolutely astonishes me to hear her talk. Really, I don't know. Well, I was going to say I don't know how she does her job, but she doesn't do her job. That's the whole thing. Waters really lost her mind after that. Oh, you mean there's more? She added, I'm also worried about he's going to be even more divisive than he's been. He said, and he warned us that if he did not get elected, there was going to be a race riot. I mean, he basically said it in so many words. No, he didn't. So that's a bad leadership action that he's already taken, where he's predicting that all that he's doing will cause people to turn on each other, and it would be a race riot if he's not. What more do we want from this president? You know, yes, he went through the impeachment process. We impeached him in the House. The Senate didn't have the nerve, the guts, didn't have the responsibility as patriots to do what needed to be done and to not support this president. And now they're talking about, they ask him not to fire Vindman and not to fire Sondland. Give me a break. So the thing is, you know, the Senate didn't convict him because there wasn't any evidence to convict him. You know, they didn't provide enough evidence. So, or any. So yeah, she is, I think she's dangerous. I really do, because she is stirring the pot even more. And it's not this president that is promoting race riots at all. In fact, it's the opposite. And it's people like Maxine that are promoting it. So anyway, I think we all realize that. All right, now let's look at this little piece of ridiculousness. Florida labs acknowledge major errors after reporting positivity rates of 100%. Yeah, and interesting, there were 33 labs. That number is always Masonic in nature, and I don't think it's a mistake that there are 33 labs, and every single test returned a positive. Every test that they did was positive. Now, what are the odds of that? None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Okay. Florida health officials left COVID-19 trackers slack-jawed on Sunday when it reported more than 15,000 new infections in just 24 hours on Sunday. The data was gleaned from the prior day, but as hospitalizations surge, questions have grown about whether the state is still trying to juke its data, something that a now infamous whistleblower alleged before she was fired. She has since started her own COVID-19 data portal, relying on public info. Journalists scouring the realm of daily data for discrepancies have apparently happened upon a bombshell that they've been hoping for. Orlando Health has just confirmed that some of the data shared over the weekend were wrong after journalists reported more than 50 labs showing 100%. Okay, there's another article that says 33 labs. More than 50 labs showing 100% positivity rate on roughly or roughly around there. One local Fox affiliate looked into the numbers and contacted a few of the labs to confirm that their internal data matched the public data released by the state. As it turned out, some of these discrepancies were pretty extreme. Orlando Health, one of the organizations contacted by Fox, confirmed that its positivity rate was actually 9.8%, not the 98% that it had reported to the state. That's a big difference. Coronavirus cases up. The report showed that Orlando Health had a 98% positivity rate. However, when Fox 35 News contacted the hospital, they confirmed errors in the report. Orlando's health positivity rate is only 9.4%, not 98%, as in the report. The Orlando VA confirmed a similar discrepancy. The report also showed that Orlando Veteran Medical Center had a positivity rate of 76%. A spokesperson for the VA told Fox 35 News on Tuesday that this does not reflect the number and that positivity rate for the center is actually 6%. How do errors like that happen? Things that make you go, huh? So Fox 35 is waiting to hear back from the Florida Department of Health about the explanation for these errors. Readers can maybe find some comfort in the fact that these errors likely exaggerated the statewide positivity rate, but still, with the state's handling of the response coming under such intense scrutiny, and with Governor DeSantis admitting that reopening bars so quickly was a mistake, these errors point to a culture of carelessness that Floridians might find extremely discouraging, especially now that their state is home to the new national epicenter, Miami. So, yeah, very interesting. And I think I have more about this later on, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, and remember the fire that I told you I had a dream about the night before? And then when I woke up and I was going through the news, I found that this boat, this Navy vessel was on fire. The USS Bonhomme Richard was on fire. Well, it's still on fire. And I think that's a little odd. 3 days later, still on fire. Odd. 3 days later, sailors still trying to put out fire on USS Bonhomme Richard, temperature in vessel over 1,000 degrees. What's up with that? Really? Remember I told you I was going to keep up with that because in my dream, it was a foreboding kind of sort of thing that I just wanted to keep up with it to see what happens with this because it was very strange that I had this dream and woke up and saw the exact same thing that I saw in my dream. That's happened to me before, actually, quite a few times. Too many times to makes me a little uneasy, but more than 400 sailors are working to put out the massive fire that continues to rage aboard the USS Bonhomme Richard in San Diego, and Navy officials are unclear how long the blaze might continue to burn. Now, I don't understand what would take so long to put the fire out. Now, okay, I realize I'm kind of ignorant about these kind of things. I've never been on a vessel like that, and I don't know too much about it, but the fire has brought down the amphibious assault ship's forward mast and caused other damage to the ship's superstructure that rises above its flight deck. This is a tremendous amount of heat underneath, and that's where it's flashing up. Also forward, closer to the bow, again, there's a heat source, and we're trying to get to that as well. Rear Admiral Philip Sobeck, the commander of Expeditionary Strike Group 3, said at a news conference Monday in San Diego. So, yeah, let me see. Let's see if there's anything else of interest there. This is from ABC News. And there is the vessel.
This summer, rediscover the joys of the open road.
Holy mackerel. Just about blast. Well, I guess you guys that are on headphones probably woke you up and, jump-started your heart. Sorry about that. No, really I am. All right. Let's come down here and see if there's anything. 57 sailors injured. Most have been treated for exhaustion and smoke inhalation. The last 5 individuals who remained hospitalized have been released from the hospital. Well, that's good news. Sobek had no information about how the fire started, but said it originated in the lower V part of the ship's aft section, which normally holds equipment used by Marines when they are aboard the vessel. Since the ship had been in maintenance, it has been used to hold maintenance supplies, including lots of cardboard boxes. Because the ship was in the shipyard, there's a lot of scaffolding and lots of debris in the way, Sobek said, explaining that it has hampered firefighting efforts. Okay, I can understand that because it was under maintenance. He said the initial fire was too much for the sailors aboard the ship at the time, which is why they called for civilian San Diego fire units to assist, but the blaze continued to expand, setting off an explosion aboard the ship. So, yeah, addressing concerns in the San Diego community that smoke from the fire may contain environmentally hazardous material, Sobek said he was aware that plastics, cabling, and rags have burned. Right now we're testing and we're checking everything we know, and we're well within EPA standards, said Sobek. There's nothing else on board the ship that would be toxic in nature aside from the fuel aboard. As we continue to fight the fire, we remain conscious of concerns regarding the air and water quality, and we recommend following the county advisories for safety out of an abundance of caution. So anyway, interesting. I want to keep following that because I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. You know, maybe I don't know. I don't know why I would dream about that, though. It's just odd. Okay, let's go back and go on because we can. All right, and I'm probably only going to go another 10 minutes or so, which will put us at about an hour. And I'm going to break, get this uploaded, and come back with number 2. All right. Not with number 2, just with the second video, because coming back with number 2 would be nasty, wouldn't it? All right. Look at this. This is good news for one and all. Here's a picture of our president. The White House, Justice Department, and FBI announced an operation to dismantle MS-13 leadership. That is very good news. They are brutal, MS-13. President Trump summoned the White House press pool into the Oval Office on Wednesday morning to announce the results of an operation the federal government has been undertaking to prosecute key leaders of the MS-13 gang around the U.S. Good news for everyone. And here we are about the Twitter hack. I told you that there was more information here, and here it is. This is from Breitbart. Massive Twitter hack hits Obama, Biden, Bloomberg, Musk, Kanye, Gates, and more. Oh, lots of people have been affected. The Twitter accounts of some of the world's most powerful people, including Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and, well, I wouldn't say Joe Biden is one of the world's most powerful people. No, I wouldn't say that at all. You know, I mean, it would be kind of like, you know, you compare Donald Trump, that would be like a Hummer, and then Joe Biden, who'd be kind of like a Volkswagen Beetle. Anyway, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Michael Bloomberg were compromised earlier today with hackers using their access to tweet out a Bitcoin scam. Bitcoin, worth more than $100,000, have reportedly been transferred to the hackers. The compromised accounts included former President Barack Obama, current Democrat presidential candidate Joe Biden, Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, businessman and former Democrat presidential candidate Michael Bloomberg, and Microsoft founder Bill Gates. Other affected accounts reportedly include brands such as Apple and Uber, and entertainers like Kanye West. And we have this. Michael Kudrai says, breaking, it appears an admin at Twitter has been hacked, resulting in the hackers to simultaneously gain access to high-profile accounts without the need for their passwords. Hacked so far, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Kanye, Uber, Apple, Bloomberg, and more. And down here it says Obama, Joe Biden, PM of Israel, and others also hacked to tweet the Bitcoin scam. So apparently these accounts tweeted out this scam, and People paid in Bitcoin, and the hackers got away with a lot of money. So here is an example. Here, I'm giving back to my community due to COVID-19. All Bitcoin sent to my address below will be sent back doubled. If you send $1,000, I will send back $2,000. Only doing this for the next 30 minutes. So this was tweeted from a lot of powerful people, and people, being generally greedy, thought, gee, I'm going to send them $1,000 and get back $2,000. Well, yeah, they just lost their $1,000 to the hackers. So that is what that was about. And wait a minute, there's more. And this is Benjamin Netanyahu. It's the same thing, just another language. And Joe Biden, I'm giving back to the community. All Bitcoin sent to the address below will be sent back doubled. So it's the same thing that they used. And here are, this is all the people, I think, that was hacked. I'm not sure. But anyway, let's go back to this and continue on. The hack put the accounts of some of the world's most powerful people in the hands of an unknown party who used their control to start a cryptocurrency scam, asking the account's followers to send quantities of Bitcoin to a digital wallet belonging to the hackers. The scam message told Twitter users that they would be beneficiaries of billionaire philanthropy, receiving double what they paid into the Bitcoin wallet. I am doubling all payments sent to the Bitcoin address for the next 30 minutes, said the scam message. You send 1,000, I'll send you back 2,000. Well, here's the thing. These people obviously weren't thinking, because, if they're wanting to give away money, why do you need to send money to get back money? Why didn't they just say, look, if you send a message to this account or whatever, I'll send you back $1,000. I would never fall for something like that, because I'd be like, okay, that sounds like one of those Nigerian scams where, oh, this person left me all this money, and if you will deposit it in an account for me, then you'll get back this much money. And of course, you deposit it, and I can't remember how that works. But there's millions of Nigerian scams. When I hear scam, I always think Nigeria. So I just wouldn't fall for something like that, because I'd be like, okay, wait a minute. If you have all this money you're wanting to give away, why do you want my money? Why do you want me to send you money so you can send me back money? That doesn't make sense, does it? No. Anyway, they fell for it, because apparently these people got $100,000. I'm not sure who these special people were that thought that they were actually going to get back money. But hey, there's one born every minute. The scam messages told Twitter users that they would be beneficiaries of millions of... Okay, so you send 1,000, I send you back 2,000. Joe Biden, Kanye West, Elon Musk among targets of apparent Twitter Bitcoin spam hack. I couldn't get that out. My gosh. And here's, he and then Barack Obama tweets out, just sent out $40,000. Sure. Which means that there were, it's crazy. Why would anybody have to send you money for them to send you money? That doesn't make sense. Like, if you went to the bank and you were getting a loan and they said, right, well, we're going to deposit $10,000 in your account, but first you need to deposit $5,000. You'd be like, what? That doesn't make sense. Many Twitter users fell for the scam, with Bitcoin wallet racking up the equivalent of $110,000, according to the blockchain, which tracks Bitcoin activity. Details are still emerging about what accounts were affected, but early reports indicate they include rapper Kanye West, Amazon CEO, Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos, and the corporate accounts of Apple and Uber, in addition to Obama, Bloomberg, Musk, and Gates. In addition to Bitcoin scam, the hack may have exposed the private Twitter messages of a former president of the U.S., a current presidential candidate, and the Prime Minister of Israel to an unknown third party. Interesting how they didn't attack Trump. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, because they know that Trump would find them. Oh, yes, he would. You don't mess with Trump. And this is Catherine Ross. Twitter down nearly 4% after hours. Yeah, the stock went down 4% because of this. 4%. That's quite a bit. Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Uber, Apple, Bill Gates, Kanye West, Michael Bloomberg have been hacked. Did I miss anyone? Oh, probably. Twitter stock has begun to slide following the news of the hack, reportedly falling 4% after hours. We are aware of a security incident impacting accounts on Twitter. We are investigating and taking steps to fix it. We will update everyone shortly. So it makes the little picture with the Twinkie for the deadbolt, or the cheesy for the deadbolt. Makes that make a lot more sense now, doesn't it? Yeah, so I'm not going to go on with this, but there were quite a few people. Oh, was that Don Lemon? Wouldn't that be great if he got hacked? No, Lemon Q. And also, the other thing that it did is those with a blue check mark weren't able to tweet. So that was interesting too. Anyway, let's go back. And we are just about up for this video, but there's more. There's always more. Okay, let's look at this. Now, Donald Trump tweeted out, I am pleased to announce that I have chosen Governor Mike Pence as my vice presidential running mate. News conference tomorrow at 11 a.m. And Mike Pence responded saying it's been an honor of a lifetime serving as vice president of the United States. And over here, I thought this was interesting and true. It says Ministry of Truth, the plan, and you know what that's from? That's from the novel 1984, Ministry of Truth. The plan, create an atmosphere of confusion and suspicion on social media platforms using paid agent provocateurs to provide the environment necessary for censorship and to deflect information deemed sensitive or damaging to the protected class of elites. That's exactly what's happening. Exactly. And then he says truth. It is the truth. All right. Now, I have a couple more minutes, so this is what I'm going to say right here. I'm going to leave those other two items, and I'm going to look at this. Attention, friends and family. Now, there's a lot of truth in this. Before you run out and get yourself tested for COVID-19, consider a few facts. Modern science can take a swab from the inside of your cheek and do a complete DNA mapping. 2, if this COVID-19 is so contagious that tiny microscopic particles of saliva in your mouth could spread out in excess of 6 feet and you need to wear a mask to stop that spread, why not swab the inside of your highly contagious mouth? I didn't think of that. That's brilliant. It's true. They can just swab your cheek. I mean, if the police want your DNA, they just swab a DNA sample. They just swab the inside of your cheek, and they can do a complete DNA analysis and mapping. But yet, they have to poke this like 6 inches up your nose. Feels like it's touching your brain. Not that I know, but I've heard from people that have had it. They said it is most uncomfortable. So yeah, it doesn't make sense. When you tilt your head back, are you sure that it's just a Q-tip going 6 inches up your nose? Is it possible that instead of retrieving a sample, they could be actually implanting something? Again, DNA can be done at home through the mail with simple mouth swab, but the highly contagious COVID-19 in your mask-covered mouths can't be tested with a mouth swab? Does this sound logical? No. No, it doesn't. Now that I think about it, and I hadn't thought about it before, but that makes a lot of sense. Now, are any of you, I know that there are some nurses listening, and are any of you in the medical field, nurses, doctors, anybody that would know why they would need to shove this way up into your nose? I don't know. Anyway, maybe there is a logical answer, and I'm not a medical person, but if you are, and I'm wrong about this, and this is not me. I stole it from somebody else on Twitter. But let us know, because I want to know, and I don't want to be giving out false information. And now that I'm thinking about it, by the way, that whole information about Biden 256 emails between him and Jeffrey Epstein, that was a false. I reported that, and the article was false, and I apologize profusely. I had meant to do that the last video, because I did find out from several listeners, and I should have vetted it much better than I did, and I am sorry for that. I really am. But when I do make a mistake, I do try to come back and correct it, but I am sorry for that. Anyway, also, let's look at this. Serious question. Why are there no biohazard bins for masks and gloves if this virus is so contagious and deadly? That's something else I didn't think about. Like, a lot of people are wearing those disposable masks now. A couple of my listeners have sent me masks, and I actually am using those because they're washable, they're reusable, and they're more comfortable. And they look nicer. But anyway, I use those. But, you know, these disposable masks, you're just taking them off and throwing them in the trash. Well, isn't that a biohazard? I mean, if you could possibly be infected, I don't know. I'm just saying. Makes sense. Makes total sense. Okay. I think I'm going to wait for these other two, and because we've got a lot more to cover, like I need to pick up the pace in the next video. So I'm going to end this here and get this uploaded, and so it's on its way, and that way it'll get to you in at least a reasonable time, unless it takes 2, 3, 4 hours to process. I really am discouraged with YouTube. I really am, and that's why the snail mail kind of made my day, because I was really having a down day. I've been in a lot of pain with my back, and I was just thinking, does anybody even watch this anymore? I don't know, because, you know, it's like the numbers, you know, I get new subscribers and then it drops the number because they knock them off. I don't believe that there's 1,000 people, or not 1,000, but 100 people in a day unsubscribing. I just don't. So anyway, so that's the other thing. If you are subscribed and you wish to stay subscribed, please check every now and then, because they tend to unsubscribe you when you're least suspecting it. And if you want to be notified of future videos, hit the bell. So there you go. All right, let's end it there, and I'll get this uploaded and off to you. And I'll be back with another video. My gosh, my hair looks ridiculous, but I was out there sweating because we've been in a heat wave all summer. And yeah, I just threw it up because, well, you know. But yeah, I can see now that I kind of look like a bag lady. Oh, well. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed. And thank you so much for listening. And I appreciate all you guys. I really do. So, all right. See you in the next video.